Are whistleblowers the heroes we need, or are they traitors to their countries? They expose secrets, challenge powerful institutions, and often pay a heavy price. But are they truly on the side of justice, or do they endanger the very fabric of society? Welcome to our deep dive into the world of whistleblowers. In this video, we'll explore the stories of prominent whistleblowers and ask a critical question. Are whistleblowers the good guys? Before we begin, let us know what you think in the comments below. What exactly is a whistleblower? At its core, a whistleblower is someone who informs on illicit activities or unethical behaviour within an organisation, often at great personal risk. This individual might be a government employee, a private sector worker, or anyone who witnesses wrongdoing and decides to take a stand. Whistleblowers often face a dilemma: stay silent and complicit, or speak out and face potential backlash. Their choice can lead to significant consequences, not just for themselves, but also for the public good. They serve as watchdogs in our societies, holding powerful entities accountable, often in the face of great personal and professional risk. The concept of whistleblowing is far from new. It dates back centuries and spans many cultures and societies. In ancient Rome, Cato the Younger was known for his stringent integrity, exposing corruption within the Senate. Moving forward to the 18th century, figures like Samuel Adams and Thomas Paine were pivotal in exposing injustices that led to significant social changes such as the American Revolution. Even further back, court jesters in medieval times often played a role in critiquing their monarchies under the guise of humour. In these historical contexts, whistleblowers have often served as catalysts for reform. Their actions sparked debates, brought about policy changes, and reshaped public perceptions of justice and ethics. The legacy of these early truth-tellers has paved the way for modern-day whistleblowers, setting foundational examples of courage and rectitude. As society evolved, so did the recognition of the whistleblower's role. By the 19th and early 20th centuries, various laws began to emerge, particularly in industrialized nations, recognizing and protecting whistleblowers from retaliation. These laws were not just protective measures, but acknowledgements of the essential role whistleblowers play in a functioning democracy. Today, the stakes and consequences of whistleblowing have evolved, but the essence remains the same: to challenge the status quo when it hides corruption or harm. As we move from the historical foundations of whistleblowing into the modern era, we encounter individuals who have taken on powerful institutions and sparked global discussions. These are the prominent whistleblowers of our time, people who have stood up against overwhelming odds to bring hidden truths to light. From exposing widespread surveillance and war crimes, to revealing corporate fraud and governmental corruption, these figures have not only influenced policies, but have also shaped public consciousness about privacy, security, and transparency. In this segment, we will explore their stories, the secrets they uncovered, and the profound impacts of their actions on society and their own. Edward Snowden, a former NSA contractor, became one of the most famous whistleblowers in history when he disclosed thousands of classified documents to the public. His actions pulled back the curtain on the extensive reach of global surveillance programs operated by the United States. In June 2013, Snowden revealed information about PRISM, X-Keyscore, and several other NSA programs. These programs allowed the US government to intercept and monitor the emails, phone calls, and internet habits of millions of people worldwide, often without any judicial oversight. The revelations sparked a global debate about the right to privacy versus the needs of national security. Governments, technology companies, and citizens worldwide were forced to reconsider the balance between surveillance and privacy. In the wake of these disclosures, several countries tightened their data privacy laws, and major technology companies made significant changes to protect user data from government interference. The impact of Snowden's actions continues to influence global policies and debates about surveillance and privacy. However, the consequences for Snowden were severe. After fleeing the United States, he sought asylum in Russia, where he remains to this day. The US government has charged him with espionage and theft of government property, crimes that could lead to decades in prison if he returns to the United States. Chelsea Manning, a former US Army intelligence analyst, became a household name after leaking a vast array of classified military and diplomatic documents to WikiLeaks. Her actions unveiled some of the darkest corners of US military operations and diplomacy. Among the most impactful revelations was the collateral murder video, which showed a 2007 US helicopter attack in Baghdad that killed several civilians, including 2 Reuters journalists. Manning also disclosed over 250,000 diplomatic cables and detailed logs from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, shedding light on undisclosed aspects of military conduct and international diplomacy. The leaks ignited a global debate on the ethical dimensions of military engagements and the transparency of government actions in international affairs. These discussions questioned the balance between national security interests and the public's right to know, reshaping opinions and policy on a worldwide scale. Chelsea Manning faced dire personal consequences for her actions. She was arrested in 2010 and later sentenced to 35 years in prison on charges including espionage and theft. Her sentence, one of the harshest ever for a whistleblower in the United States, sparked further debate about the treatment of whistleblowers and the use of the Espionage Act. In one of his final acts in office, President Barack Obama commuted Manning's sentence to 7 years, acknowledging the disproportionate nature of her initial sentence compared to her intentions and the value of the information released. Manning was released in 2017, having served 7 years, including time in solitary confinement. Daniel Ellsberg, a military analyst, became one of the most influential whistleblowers in American history when he released the Pentagon Papers. These top-secret documents revealed critical insights into the US government's decision-making process during the Vietnam War. Ellsberg's key revelations showed that successive US administrations had misled the public about the scale and likelihood of success in Vietnam, significantly underreporting the extent of military operations and overestimating the effectiveness of US efforts. The leak of the Pentagon Papers in 1971 had a profound impact, fueling anti-war sentiment and significantly shaping public opinion against the Vietnam War. This act of whistleblowing not only accelerated the end of the war, but also led to a greater push for transparency in government affairs. Ellsberg faced severe consequences for his actions. He was charged under the Espionage Act, facing a potential sentence of up to 115 years in prison. His courageous stand posed significant personal risks, but ultimately set a historical precedent for the treatment and rights of whistleblowers. The charges against Ellsberg were eventually dismissed due to gross governmental misconduct, including illegal wiretapping and efforts to discredit him. This dismissal not only vindicated Ellsberg, but also exposed deep flaws in the judicial process, prompting discussions and reforms regarding the rights of accused persons and the handling of classified information. Jeffrey Wigand, a former executive at Brown and Williamson Tobacco Corporation, took a stand that reshaped an entire industry. His insider knowledge led to some of the most significant public health revelations in history. Wigand exposed how tobacco companies manipulated their products to increase addiction, using chemical additives to enhance nicotine's potency. His revelations were a bombshell, detailing not just these practices, but also the industry's efforts to conceal the harmful effects of smoking. His key revelations came to light in a dramatic interview with CBS's 60 Minutes, despite tremendous pressure and threats from his former employer. Weigand disclosed that executives at major tobacco companies were fully aware of the addiction their products caused and intentionally designed cigarettes to be even more addictive. The impact was profound. They spurred significant regulatory changes in the tobacco industry, leading to stricter labelling laws, severe restrictions on advertising, and massive settlements from tobacco companies, meant to cover healthcare costs linked to smoking-related illnesses. However, the personal and professional consequences for Weigand were severe. He faced relentless legal battles, character assassination, and even threats to his life. Despite these challenges, Weigand's integrity and commitment to public health never wavered. Sharon Watkins, once the Vice President of Corporate Development at Enron, became a central figure in one of the biggest corporate scandals in history. Her foresight and ethical judgment exposed deep-rooted corruption within Enron, a company that had been lauded as one of the most innovative businesses of its time. Watkins alerted then CEO Ken Lay in a now famous anonymous memo detailing her concerns about Enron's accounting irregularities. She warned that the company might implode in a wave of accounting scandals. Her revelations exposed complex financial fraud involving off-the-book special purpose entities used to hide debts and inflate profits. The fallout from Watkins' revelations was swift and devastating. Enron declared bankruptcy in December 2001, which was the largest bankruptcy in US history at that time. The scandal wiped out thousands of jobs, erased billions in investor value, and led to significant losses for retirees. As the scandal unfolded, Watkins emerged as a key witness in the investigations and trials of Enron executives. Her insider testimony helped to convict several top Enron officials, including CEO Jeffrey Skilling and founder Kenneth Lay. Enron's collapse led to major reforms in corporate governance and accounting practices. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, which introduced rigorous new standards for all US public company boards, management and public accounting firms, was a direct result of the Enron scandal and Watkins' role in bringing the issues to light. Mark Felt, known by the clandestine alias Deep Throat, played a pivotal role in unraveling the Watergate scandal, one of the most significant political crises in American history. As the Associate Director of the FBI, Felt covertly provided critical information to Washington Post journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. The Watergate scandal centers around a 1972 break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate office complex. It escalated into a monumental scandal when it was uncovered that the break-in was part of a larger operation, authorized and covered up by high-level officials in the Nixon administration. This operation included various illegal activities aimed at undermining political opponents. Felt's secret guidance helped Woodward and Bernstein connect the dots between the break-in and the Nixon administration's extensive efforts to obstruct justice. This systematic cover-up involved not only espionage, but also deliberate sabotage of the electoral process and the misuse of government agencies to protect political interests. Due to the revelations, public trust was shattered, leading to congressional investigations that culminated in the resignation of President Nixon in 1974. This scandal not only led to unprecedented political upheaval, but also to significant reforms in government transparency and ethics. Remaining anonymous for over 3 decades, Felt only revealed his role as Deep Throat at the age of 91. His disclosure sparked renewed discussion on the critical importance of whistleblowing in maintaining governmental accountability. Peter Buxton, a public health service employee, brought to light one of the most infamous medical ethics violations in US history, the Tuskegee syphilis study. His courageous actions exposed a deeply troubling chapter in American medical research. Initiated in 1932, the Tuskegee syphilis study involved the observation of untreated syphilis in African American men who were misled to believe they were receiving free health care from the federal government. Buxton discovered that even after penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis in the mid-1940s, researchers deliberately withheld treatment from the study's participants to track the progression of the disease. His revelations in 1972, after his concerns were repeatedly ignored by his superiors, finally led to the termination of the 40-year study. His exposure of the facts ignited public outrage and deeply impacted the African American community, leading to widespread distrust in public health initiatives. The fallout from the exposure of the Tuskegee syphilis study spurred significant changes in ethical standards for medical research, including stricter federal regulations on human experimentation, and the requirement for informed consent from all research subjects. Despite the crucial role he played in exposing these unethical practices, Buxton faced considerable backlash from his colleagues and superiors, who were resistant to his whistleblowing. His professional journey was marked by challenges, reflecting the complexities faced by those who stand up against institutional wrongdoings. Colleen Rowley, a seasoned FBI agent, played a critical role in unveiling shortcomings within the FBI's handling of intelligence prior to the September 11th attacks. Her bold actions shed light on missed opportunities that could have potentially thwarted the tragic events of that day. Rowley's key revelations came in the form of a detailed memo to FBI Director Robert Mueller, outlining how the FBI's Minneapolis field office's attempts to secure a search warrant for terrorism, suspect Zacharias Moussaoui, were hindered by bureaucratic obstacles at FBI headquarters. She detailed the agency's failure to act on significant pre-attack warnings and mishandling of critical intelligence. Rowley's forthright testimony before the Senate and the 9/11 Commission was instrumental in initiating a broad re-evaluation of US intelligence practices. Her insights into the systemic failures within the FBI prompted a nationwide overhaul of how intelligence agencies collect, analyze, and share information. The impact reached far beyond the FBI, influencing significant changes across the entire US intelligence community. Her efforts helped catalyze the creation of new coordinated mechanisms to ensure that critical intelligence does not get overlooked in the future. In the aftermath of her disclosures, Rowley emerged as a vocal advocate for intelligence reform. She has continued to speak out against inefficiencies within federal agencies and the importance of accountability and transparency in national security matters. Brad Birkenfeld, a former banker at UBS turned whistleblower, played a key role in uncovering widespread tax evasion facilitated by one of the world's largest banks. His revelations had profound repercussions for the global banking industry and the fight against offshore tax evasion. Birkenfeld exposed intricate schemes orchestrated by UBS to help wealthy Americans hide their assets in offshore accounts, thereby evading US taxes. His detailed accounts included the methods UBS used, such as creating sham entities and smuggling diamonds in toothpaste tubes, to help clients skirt US tax laws. The impact of Birkenfeld's whistleblowing was seismic. It led to a massive crackdown on offshore tax evasion worldwide. UBS was fined $780 million and agreed to hand over names of more than 4,000 clients to US authorities, which opened the door to broader investigations into other banks and financial institutions. Despite his crucial role in these disclosures, Birkenfeld's journey was fraught with personal and legal challenges. Initially, he served 30 months in prison for his part in the tax evasion schemes before cooperating with authorities. However, in a turn of events that underscores the complex nature of whistleblowing, Birkenfeld was later awarded $104 million by the IRS under whistleblower reward programs, marking it as the largest such reward in history. Birkenfeld's case prompted significant changes in international banking laws and practices, enhancing transparency and leading to the adoption of more stringent regulations on tax evasion. Governments worldwide have since recovered billions in unpaid taxes, strengthening public finance systems and accountability. John Kiriakou, a former CIA officer, brought to light one of the most controversial aspects of the War on Terror: the use of torture in interrogation practices. His candid admissions exposed a dark side of US intelligence operations. Kiriakou was the first government official to confirm publicly that the CIA was waterboarding detainees, a practice he described as torture. His revelations highlighted specific cases, including the waterboarding of Abu Zubaydah, an al-Qaeda operative, challenging the official narrative that described these techniques as enhanced interrogation. The impact of Kiriakou's disclosures was profound. They ignited a national debate over the morality and efficacy of torture and forced a re-evaluation of US interrogation methods. His revelations spurred legislative and policy discussions that ultimately led to significant reforms in how detainees are interrogated by US forces. Despite the crucial nature of his whistleblowing, Kiriakou faced severe personal consequences. He was charged under the Espionage Act for leaking classified information and was sentenced to 30 months in prison, highlighting the perilous path faced by whistleblowers within the national security apparatus. Since his release, Kiriakou has become a vocal advocate for whistleblower protections and reform of US interrogation practices. He continues to speak out against torture and works towards ensuring that such practices are not used in the future. Mordecai Vanunu, a former Israeli nuclear technician, became one of the most controversial figures in the realm of nuclear proliferation when he revealed the inner workings of Israel's secretive nuclear weapons program to the British press in 1986. Vanunu provided detailed photographs and descriptions of the operations within the Dimona facility, confirming suspicions that Israel had developed nuclear weapons. His revelations included estimates of the number of nuclear warheads Israel possessed, effectively lifting the veil on one of the world's most clandestine nuclear arsenals. The impact of Vanunu's disclosures was immediate and far-reaching. They sparked a global debate on nuclear weapons policy and non-proliferation, particularly in the Middle East, bringing international attention to an issue that many governments preferred to remain undisclosed. Despite the global spotlight his revelations attracted, Vanunu faced severe repercussions. Kidnapped by Israeli agents in Rome and brought back to Israel, he was tried and convicted of treason and espionage. Vanunu was sentenced to 18 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement, highlighting the grave risks faced by whistleblowers dealing with national security issues. In the face of enormous challenges, whistleblowers have historically played a pivotal role in promoting transparency and accountability. Their actions have not only uncovered hidden wrongdoings, but have also led to substantial societal reforms. Whistleblowers have been instrumental in bringing to light corruption and misconduct within both government entities and private corporations. Their revelations have often been the catalyst for major scandals that resulted in significant legal consequences for the perpetrators and sweeping reforms within the institutions. In matters of public safety and health, the contributions of whistleblowers have been profound. Jeffrey Wigand's exposure of deceptive practices within the tobacco industry not only led to major public health reforms, but also catalysed anti-smoking legislation worldwide. Similarly, whistleblowers in the pharmaceutical industry have exposed dangerous drug side effects, leading to recalls and greater regulatory oversight. The influence of whistleblowers extends into the realm of legal and ethical reforms. Their disclosures have often precipitated the development of laws that enhance transparency and protect the rights of individuals. This is evident in the legal protections that have been established in the wake of whistleblowing cases, such as the Whistleblower Protection Acts in the United States, which safeguard those who expose wrongdoing from retaliation. Beyond immediate legal impacts, whistleblowers encourage a broader cultural shift towards ethics and accountability. Their bravery inspires others to come forward and contributes to a societal norm where integrity is valued and expected. Community forums, educational initiatives, and workplace training programs often sprout from these whistleblower cases, fostering an environment where ethical behaviour is the standard. Whistleblowers do more than just expose faults. They serve as catalysts for growth and improvement across societies. By standing up against corruption, they not only challenge the status quo, but also pave the way for a more just and accountable world. Their courage and persistence remind us that change often starts with the actions of a single individual. While whistleblowers can drive significant positive change, their actions are not without controversy. The risks they take can lead to serious personal, professional, and national consequences, sparking debates about the limits and impacts of their disclosures. One of the most contentious issues surrounding whistleblowing involves potential risks to national security. Critics argue that the public release of classified information can compromise intelligence operations, endanger lives, and threaten national security. For instance, Edward Snowden's revelations about NSA surveillance programs ignited a debate on privacy versus security, with some arguing that such disclosures could potentially help adversaries. The motivations behind whistleblowing can also complicate perceptions of their actions. While many whistleblowers are driven by altruism and a commitment to public interest, others may be perceived as having motivations rooted in personal gain or vendettas. This blurs the lines between heroic actions and personal agendas, as seen in cases where whistleblowers receive significant financial rewards or public attention that could suggest ulterior motives. The personal and professional consequences for whistleblowers can be severe. Many face legal actions such as charges of espionage or breach of contract, leading to imprisonment or hefty fines. Professionally, they may be blacklisted or lose their careers. Socially, the isolation can be profound, with whistleblowers often ostracised from their communities and even by their families. This complex landscape makes whistleblowing a deeply controversial act. The line between public hero and reviled informant can be thin, influenced by the nature of the information revealed, the manner of its disclosure, and the shifting sands of public and political opinion. As society grapples with these issues, the stories of whistleblowers challenge us to consider where we draw the line between transparency and security, public good and personal privacy. We've seen how whistleblowers can be instrumental in uncovering major corruption and wrongdoing, enhancing public safety and health, and driving critical legal and ethical reforms. Yet, their actions are often controversial, with debates about the risks to national security, their personal motivations, and the severe repercussions they endure. So, are whistleblowers the good guys? The answer isn't straightforward. It depends on one's perspective. To those who see the exposed information as vital for public knowledge, whistleblowers are heroes. To others, particularly those whose activities are exposed, they are seen as traitors or criminals.